Chapter 3386. What you said is true. If he did this, you won't pursue this matter anymore? It's true. With his temperament, to be able to do this, it can be considered a great awakening. We clones don't like disputes. Our only goal is to live well. We like the sun, the green mountain forest, and the white clouds floating in the sky. We especially yearn for that kind of freedom. We don't like the cold laboratory at all. We are like animals being kept in captivity. We experience the pain of a knife cutting into our bodies. I know. I'm really sorry. The female lead bowed to Tangua. I will work hard to make Xixian understand his mistake. One more thing. You can't appear in front of him like this. To be exact, you should only be able to pass through with your voice, not with your body. You also have to pretend to be on the verge of death. These are your last words to him. Tangua said. Do you understand what I mean? I understand. Tangua looked at the female lead's relieved expression and laughed. Did you think that Ouyang Xixian would listen to your last words? No, he wouldn't. Without the female lead, a clean person, by his side, he would only become darker and darker. He would become more and more unable to control himself. When the female lead died, he would become dark. It was impossible for him to do as she said. Maybe in the end, he would turn himself in. Maybe he would donate all his property. But before that, he would definitely come to her for revenge. She was digging a hole for Ouyang Xixian. After all, they were enemies, weren't they? Tang Zhou took the female lead back to her room. The other party asked him what he wanted to say to her. Sister, I think brother-in-law is not suitable for you. But I know your temper. Even if he is a big villain, even if you personally send him to prison, you will still like him. You will not give up on him. Even if there is a wall between them, you will still choose to be his wife. Ah Zhou, what do you want to say to me? I want to say something very strange. I don't know if sister will believe it after hearing it. But I just want to tell sister that she is the same as me. Maybe she has such an experience. That's why she won't let Ouyang Xixian go. If it weren't for sister, I would have used all means to make Ouyang Xixian die a horrible death. The female lead was indeed frightened because Tang Zhou was her younger brother. Even if he wasn't a merciful person, he wasn't someone who liked to harm others. One day, she heard from her brother that he didn't want to let someone go and wanted that person to die a horrible death. So what did Xixian do to hurt Ah Zhou? Ah Zhou was her biological brother, the brother she cared about the most. Xixian, please don't do anything overboard. When Tang Zhou finished talking about his rebirth, including what Tangua went through, and even said that Tangua was reborn to take revenge, the female lead was stunned. She didn't think that Ouyang Xixian would really do something so outrageous. When she heard that Ouyang Xixian had sent people to tamper with his car, causing him to get into a serious car accident during a competition and die on the spot, the female lead almost fainted. Sis, I'm telling the truth. I thought that I could change everything after I was reborn. Later on, I realized that I wasn't strong enough. If it weren't for her, history might have repeated itself. Tang Zhou said seriously, no matter what sister thinks, I will not recognize Ouyang Xixian as my brother-in-law. The Peak. Chapter 3387. Ah Zhou, my heart is in a mess. I want to be alone. Okay. I will still go to the one she mentioned. If he is not sentenced to life imprisonment, I will divorce him after he gets out of prison. Tang Zhou sighed. What if he can't do it? Can't do it? Can't he do it? The female lead's voice was full of confusion. Could it be that Xixian really couldn't do it? A few days later, the female lead was ready and began to persuade Ouyang Xixian. Tangua controlled the illusion and let the people in the nutrition tank wake up for a while every day. Looking at Ouyang Xixian, who nodded with red eyes every day and agreed to everything the female lead said, she felt a little bored. Xiao Tian, why don't we start the rescue plan? Many of our kind have been waiting for a long time. Now that the information is almost checked and the people have been trained, we can start now. Tangua agreed. From this day onwards, countless hidden secret laboratories about cloning in the world slowly disappeared. What was strange was that all the people in the entire laboratory disappeared without a trace. A long time later, people from all over the world found that the disappeared laboratories were all about cloning, so those who wanted to study cloning no longer dared to carry out such experiments. What was heartbreaking was that those talents were also gone. They didn't know that these people were all sent to the clone country. The obedient ones were the teachers of the clones, and the disobedient ones were sent to dump feces, cook, and do all kinds of rough work. Although they lived in the fantasy city, their specialties were very different and they were very distressed. At first, they thought that the clones were very stupid. They thought that it was a waste of talent to use them. Later, they realized that the clones could learn everything quickly. They quickly squeezed out what they knew and could even draw inferences about other things. Later, they found out that if they performed well, they could be promoted and treated better, so they worked hard. Maybe the people outside didn't know that there was a group of former talents here. Now, they were fighting for the position of leader of the feces dump team. On this day, the female lead died. No one talked to Ouyang Shixian anymore, except for him crying sadly that day. After that, he looked at everything on the screen in pain and seemed to be very silent. Tang Zhou went out. For the sake of the female lead's safety, Tang Zhou decided to let her stay here. At least this powerful king of the clone country had saved his sister, which meant that her heart was not that dark. She was safer than Ouyang Shixian. It was the safest place to stay. About 3 months later, Ouyang Shixian escaped. The system asked Tang Guo why she needed so long. Tang Guo said it was because it was too short. Ouyang Shixian would be suspicious. If it was more than half a year, she wouldn't have been able to wait. 3 months was the most suitable. The female lead was paying attention to the news outside every day. When she heard that Ouyang Shixian was holding a funeral for her, she became silent and her emotions were complicated. Because the clones were out of control, Ouyang Shixian's company had a huge problem. Although it was resolved in the end, it was still a huge blow to its vitality, and its reputation was not as good as before. Fortunately, he was really capable. The company was saved, and after a few months, it would slowly recover. The female lead was waiting. She was waiting for Ouyang Shixian to donate the company's assets and turn himself in. After waiting for a long time, about a year or so, she didn't get what she wanted. Instead, Ouyang Shixian brought people and weapons to besiege the island. Chapter 3388. Although he couldn't do this in his own country, this island wasn't in his country's territory. It was surrounded by small countries. Ouyang Shixian had made up his mind. Even if he had to spend all his fortune, he would destroy this island. It's a pity that he didn't do any of the things you said. Tang Guo stood on the highest floor. From here, she could see very far. She handed the binoculars in her hand to the female lead. Take a look. Those warships are worth a lot. In just a year, he prepared so many. It's really amazing. He probably spent most of his fortune. You said before that he tried his best to save the company because the company's influence was too great. Once it was declared bankrupt, countless people would lose their jobs. The female lead held the binoculars and looked at the warships. You see, he came to me for revenge first. Tell me, do I owe him? Tang Guo smiled faintly. If we weren't strong enough, this world wouldn't be able to accommodate us. The female lead's lips moved. She didn't know what to say. She was disappointed in Shixian. In fact, when she heard Tang Zhou say those things, she was already disappointed. Let me out. I'll let him go back. The female lead returned the binoculars to Tang Guo. As long as I'm alive, I'll make sure that you won't be hurt by him. You can only make sure that he won't hurt us, but you can't make sure that other people, other countries, and the whole world, right? The female lead had nothing to say. Yes, she couldn't. Her only assurance was to restrain Ouyang Shixian. What kind of person is he? Don't you know? Even if he doesn't do it himself, he will try his best to make others do it. I know you have good intentions, but you alone can't protect us. With so many warships surrounding us, once he gives the order, this place will definitely be blown to pieces. We can't withstand it at all. This was what the female lead was worried about. Maybe the love in her heart couldn't disappear quickly, but she couldn't accept this kind of Ouyang Shixian. He clearly promised, but he couldn't do a single thing. Let me out. I should still be useful. I used my life to threaten him. Maybe he won't target this place. We made a deal beforehand. You've already lost, Tangwa said with a chuckle. Do you still want to be with him? No, I can't accept it. Ajo told me many things. I can't accept being with him again. Then why force yourself to go to his side? A pained expression appeared on the female lead's face. If I don't go, what will happen to all of you? With such a big lineup, he must be determined to blow this place up. When the time comes, none of you will be able to escape. Actually, I was doing this for my own peace of mind. He had done too many wrong things, and I could only do my best to stop him. I didn't want to see him continue making mistakes. If I can't protect you, I won't be able to live in peace for the rest of my life. Then you don't have to. He can't do anything to us. You should be worried about what I'll do to him. Tangwa reached out and touched the female lead's face. Do you want him to live or die? System. Host. Why don't you look at Jiang Xian beside you? His eyes haven't moved. You actually touched another woman's face in front of him. Won't you hurt his young heart? Jiang Xian was indeed very jealous. As expected, this woman who looked exactly like Little Tian was very annoying. Little Tian hadn't touched his face before, but this woman took advantage of it. Will you kill him? The female lead asked. She was very conflicted. There were some realistic questions that she didn't know how to answer. Chapter 3389. If possible, she still wanted him to live. Actually, you want him to live, right? That's what I want too. If he dies, everything will be over. That'll be too easy for him. So, you plan to make all his preparations go up in smoke. Make him lose his lover and everything. Turn him from a genius to an ordinary person. Tangwa touched the female lead's face again. Do you still want to be with him? No. I'll change your face. You can change your identity. For example, you can be the adopted daughter of the Tang family. Even if you two meet in the future, he won't recognize you. System. As expected, this woman is extremely ruthless. Change my face? Yes, change your face. Don't worry, it's different from plastic surgery. There won't be any side effects. You can have any appearance you want. Keep using this face. Although the world is big, sometimes fate comes and you can't stop it. You'll meet sooner or later. In the future, with his identity, he won't be able to see you. Even if he sees you, he won't talk to you or recognize you. Let him live. Let him lose everything. When he meets his lover, he won't be able to recognize her. It'll be very painful. You can refuse. Tangwa stuffed the binoculars into the female lead's hands. Although it's a bit troublesome, it's no problem. But when the time comes, he'll probably pester you and do something else. I don't know. You should know that he's capable of doing anything. He might hurt you or the people who hid you, such as your brother, Tangzhou. Your brother didn't dote on you for nothing. He's a good person. I agree. Help me change my face. This person didn't just like her. He could hurt anyone he liked, even her family. Forgive her for not being able to accept it. She loved him and cared about him, but she couldn't accept the things he did. Your choice is wise. Although it'll be painful and uncomfortable for you when you think of these things in the future, it'll be better. It's better than everything developing in the way he wants. System. Host, you're very villainous this time. That's because I didn't use the skill in the past. The stage wasn't big enough, and the script wasn't interesting enough. System. But great host, I have to remind you that Jiang Xian's gaze has always been strange. The way he looks at the female lead is even more strange. If it weren't for you, he would have knocked the female lead unconscious and thrown her out. Ouyang Shixian spent most of his wealth to buy warships, weapons, and hired people to destroy a small island. However, when he gave the order for the warship to sail over, a fog suddenly appeared on the surface of the sea, followed by a strong wind. He was knocked over by a wave, and when he woke up again, he was on a deserted island. It was not easy for him to return to the mainland. It was already a year later, and the company had already changed owners. Then it was bought by someone else. He had planned to make a comeback several times, but it was as if there was an invisible hand suppressing him, causing him to fail time and time again. Then, he used the remaining money to hire servants to kill all the clones on the island. In the end, no one came back. What he didn't know was that these people were assigned to do dirty and tiring work in the clone country. They couldn't escape at all. They hated him to death. As for the people on the ships that had disappeared, they had become odd jobs in the clone country. Finally, Ouyang Shixian had nothing left. The female lead's face was also changed by Tanggua. The iconic features on her body were also removed, and her name was changed. She became an adopted daughter of the family Tang. In the past 2 years, she began to appear outside. Ouyang Shixian heard about this and secretly went to see. As a result, he found a very ordinary face and couldn't help but be disappointed. As for the person's appearance, he thought that it was because the family Tang couple missed their daughter too much. They couldn't find the same one, so they found one with the same appearance as the female lead. Ouyang Shixian had always wanted to make a comeback, but he had offended too many people and had no funds. No one would support him. His relatives also avoided him like the plague, fearing that they would end up like him. Like to wear it quickly. Supporting female lead, please calm down. Wear it quickly. Supporting female lead, please calm down. Peak. Chapter 3390. Ouyang Shixian, who was unwilling to give up, finally exposed the news of the island. The whole world was shocked. When the female lead heard the news, the last light in her heart was extinguished. She no longer asked anyone to inquire about Ouyang Shixian's situation. Sister, I don't know how to persuade you, but he deserves it. Tang Zhou was very happy. Fortunately, she was reborn. Otherwise, Ouyang Shixian would still be in the spotlight. She was so capable. Even if the clone country was exposed, she could still protect herself. They were both reborn. Why was there such a big difference? Tang Zhou thought of the days they spent together and couldn't help but smile. Actually, she wasn't a bad person. Maybe she listened to his words and didn't hurt any innocent people. He even asked her about those people who disappeared. He was lucky enough to get her contact information. Now, he still contacted her from time to time. It was said that those people who attacked the island went to do dirty work. One of them was to help all the clones pour feces. It was funny just thinking about it. Ah Zhou, I'm just worried about the safety of the island. Sister, don't worry about this. With her around, the island will be fine. The female lead didn't believe it at first. However, 3 days later, Tanggua announced the establishment of the clone country to the world. She even said that if anyone was unhappy, they could come and beat her up. System. Host, you're a little arrogant. This is called forcing a rise. System. It's still a little chinibyu. What if they really come and beat you up? There aren't many people in the clone country, especially those who do odd jobs. It's best if they come and go to work. System. Okay, he understood the host's big goal. She was so chinibyu. She wanted to lure ordinary people to make mistakes and then make them stay to work to atone for their mistakes. At first, some big countries didn't believe it and secretly sent people to destroy the clone country. In the end, none of the people sent returned. Tanggua even wrote a letter to them. Hello, President of XX country. We caught people from your country. Because they made a mistake, they entered our clone country without a passport. The law of our clone country is that anyone who illegally enters without a passport will serve a sentence here. Normally, it's 3 years to life. They were armed and did not cause panic among the citizens for the time being. Therefore, after a trial, we decided to sentence them to 20 years in prison. After 20 years, they would be released after completing their sentences. If they performed well, they would only receive preferential treatment and would not have their sentences reduced. If you don't agree with this decision, you won't be able to appeal again. However, you can send people to attack my clone country. A certain big country still refused to believe it. They threatened that if they didn't let them go, then they shouldn't blame them for being rude. However, it was useless. Tanggua was not afraid at all. The other party intended to use satellites, stars, guides, and bombs to track her. However, when they realized that there was no signal at all, they did not dare to simply bombard her. After all, there were many places around that did not belong to the clone country. In the end, he could only endure it. The rise of Clone Island shocked the world. They realized that unless they had a passport, they would not be able to enter Clone Country. No signal tracking was of any use. The Clone Nation issued a statement. We just want to live in this pure land. We have no intention of threatening the safety of the world. We welcome trade with all countries. In the beginning, there were still those who had the idea. Later, they realized that it was really impossible. Furthermore, the Clone Country became more and more stable. Gradually, everyone got used to the existence of the Clone Country. In the regulations of the world regarding human cloning, Tangwa raised many opinions. Most countries were not willing to support or agree to it. Although there was a big country supporting it, the support of a big country was not effective. Then, Tangwa directly said, "It's okay. If you don't agree, we have our own ways to protect our people. I hope that everyone will be more aware and not let us find out that other countries are researching human cloning. Otherwise, we won't know what will happen." They had never seen such an unreasonable person. They did not dare to be fierce. Otherwise, her next sentence would be, "If you don't agree, come and beat me up." Actually, they did not support the human cloning experiments. Many laboratories were set up by some people privately. However, they were still happy to make things difficult for her. However, when they heard that some laboratories were disappearing one by one, along with the people, they could not sit still. Chapter 3391. They wrote letters to Tangwa, and Tangwa's reply was, "Anyone who harms their own kind will be sentenced to life imprisonment in our clone country, and they will have to serve the clones for the rest of their lives." The leaders of some countries were so angry that they were trembling. They had publicly condemned it countless times, and the foreign media had also reported it countless times. They even caused the citizens to be angry, but it seemed to be useless. They didn't care about this at all, especially when they found out that some small countries around the clone country had become friends with the clone country. A big country had also become friends with the clone country. Every time Tangwa expressed her opinion, they would choose to support her. Clone country had gained a firm foothold. It was powerful and mysterious, and no one could figure it out. No one dared to have any ideas about it anymore. Tang Zhou was lucky enough to travel to Clone Country. When Clone Country was opened, many people went there. Then, they saw skyscrapers and underwater cities. It was as if they had entered a fairy tale world. Those who had been there would think that it was a very powerful small country. Later, Clone Country became a tourist attraction. Because there was no big threat, many people turned a blind eye to it. "I didn't expect you to be so powerful." When Tang Zhou found out about all this, he felt happy from the bottom of his heart. "I'm relieved to see you. You're doing well now." Tang Zhou smiled and gave a rose to Tangwa. "Do you want to have a meal together?" System. Host. Peach blossoms. "I don't think so. Xiao Tian promised to eat with me tonight." Zhang Xian appeared out of nowhere and glanced at the rose in Tang Zhou's hand. The roses in Clone Country have an entire floor, and it's called the Rose Building. If you're free, you can go and take a look. They're fresher than the ones in your hand. Tang Zhou understood something and looked at Tangwa, waiting for her reaction. However, the people in Clone Country were famous for their unfriendly tone. "Xian is right. You can go and take a look when you're free. Does your sister like these flowers? You can bring some for her." Tang Zhou understood and felt a little regretful. "My sister doesn't like roses. She likes wintersweet. We have wintersweet here too. You can go to the wintersweet house to take a look. We have all kinds of wintersweet." Zhang Xian suggested. "It's just that the price is a little expensive, but you don't lack it. If you order a lot, we can deliver it to your doorstep and help you plant it." Xian's suggestion is very good. Tang Zhou completely discarded his thoughts and bid farewell to the two of them. He'd better bring back 2 wintersweet for his sister and bring her here to see if there was a chance. Ouyang Shixian really didn't understand why he exposed the matter of the island and ended up creating a clone country. Shouldn't all the countries around the world be eager to seize the island and claim it as their own? However, the current situation was that Clone Country was extremely powerful and had even become a tourist attraction. Many countries even opened a special line for the clone countries. It was said that those who had been to clone country were all shocked by their architecture. In the underground city, one could directly see the underwater scenery. There was a city in the sky above. When one opened the door, they could see the white clouds. It was very close. It was simply a paradise on Earth. He didn't know how they handled it, but it didn't make him feel uncomfortable. Countless people in the world had the same wish, which was to travel to Clone Island once. Those who were against cloning Island were also gradually accepted. This was especially true for the country that he was from. They had cooperated countless times with each other and had formed a deep friendship. Not only did Clone Island engage in tourism, but they also cultivated plants and flowers. It was very outstanding. In fact, they even had countless research institutes. Every member of their research institute was an outstanding research talent. The things that they developed were always the best-selling, and the whole world fought to imitate them. Later on, Clone Country even developed weapons, causing many big countries to treat them kindly. However, he was cursing in his heart. Was this a small country? Hurry up and stop those who were secretly doing experiments in the country. Don't let there be more clones in the world. They were all so perverted. Humans would probably become their slaves. Because the country he was from had a good relationship with Clone Country, he was able to get first-hand good things every time. As for Ouyang Shixian, he was gradually forgotten by people. The fact that he had once attacked the island was also exposed. Some people said that it was because he was angry that he exposed Clone Country. As for the laboratory being Ouyang Shixian's, no one could prove it. There was also no evidence, so they couldn't arrest him. Chapter 3392. This was exactly what Tangguo wanted, and she was very satisfied with it. Ouyang Shixian had been wandering around the dock because it was always full of people. Every day there were people going to Clone Country. On this day he saw a familiar person on the dock. It was Tang Zhou who brought the female lead to Clone Island to play for a few days. The two sides met face to face. Tang Zhou saw that Ouyang Shixian was wearing wrinkled clothes and still had that gloomy look. He didn't have any sympathy, because Ouyang Shixian actually looked at his sister with a very hateful gaze. He really wanted to laugh out loud. How is this person like Xiaogua? Isn't it just a bit similar? You brought her back and held her in the palm of your hand. You treated her like a treasure and took everything that belonged to Xiaogua. Ouyang Shixian criticized. Is she worthy? The female lead looked back at Ouyang Shixian and saw his face full of hatred. It was as if she was something that couldn't be seen. She suddenly laughed. Actually, he didn't love her that much, right? Ah, Zhou, is the ship leaving? Oh sister, let's go. Don't bother with this madman. Tang Zhou, you did this to Xiaogua. Ouyang Shixian shouted. Have you forgotten how Xiaogua died? You even took her to that bullshit Clone Country. He was familiar with that ship. It was heading to Clone Country. Tang Zhou turned back and said with deep meaning, I will never forget that you killed my sister. Do you love my sister? If you love her, why didn't you do the simplest thing that she asked you to do? You may love her, but your love is very selfish. It's all to satisfy yourself. You only love yourself more. People are selfish, but you never admit it in front of my sister. No, the person I love is Xiaogua. I love her. I only have her in my heart. For her, I am willing to do anything. Tang Zhou didn't respond. The female lead also didn't want to turn back. She didn't love him anymore. She used to hope that he would admit his mistakes. She had been waiting for him, but now there was no need. She couldn't help but recall the day when they first met. That day she had walked into the wrong private room. It just so happened that Ouyang Shixian and some other people were inside. She didn't know what they were talking about, but Ouyang Shixian pulled her back. This woman is better than them. If I were to choose a woman, it would definitely be someone like her. At that time, she was still very young, just 10 years old. She was a little confused. Ouyang Shixian whispered in her ear, How about being my girlfriend? All right. She nodded subconsciously. Then, she didn't know why, but she fell madly in love with this person. Even if she ran into countless obstacles and suffered a lot, she still loved him without hesitation. In the beginning, he didn't love her. He even said that he was just trying to cope with the situation that day. It was her persistence and perseverance that had brought them together in the end. She had also received that sentence. "I love you." "Sis, what's wrong?" "I thought of some past events," she said. "Ah, Jo, if you have a daughter in the future, you must take her out to see the world more often." "Oh, okay. But I don't even have a wife. How can I have a daughter? Besides, I don't even know if the child will be a boy or a girl." "You have to teach your son well. In the future, I will help you look after the child. Children have to be guided from a young age. Otherwise, when they grow up in the future, they will do bad things without knowing." "Sis, you don't have to worry about it." "Oh, right. You haven't forgotten about her? He is a king and is already married. The couple is very loving. Don't ruin their relationship." "Sis, don't worry. I am not that bored. I just need some time." Did his sister mean that she would be alone in the future? Tang Zhou didn't ask. This result was okay. Oh. Chapter 3393. "Boss Tang, your stomach is not good. You can't drink any more wine." When Tang Guo was awake, she heard this sentence. Judging from the voice, it should be a woman, and this woman should be about 30 years old. Her voice was serious and sounded a little rigid. It was rare that there was some concern and worry. This should be someone close to the original owner. Calling her Boss Tang, this meant that she was still in the modern world and was a president. Then she should not be too young. It was impossible for her to be a girl under 20 years old. Her initial guess was that she should be between 25 and 30 years old. As for the person who persuaded her, it should be her assistant or secretary, who should be a very trusted person in the company. After a moment of absent-mindedness, she woke up and saw a well-maintained hand holding the wine glass in her hand. She looked up and saw a woman in a suit and skirt, wearing glasses and a light professional outfit looking at her with a frown. "Boss Tang, there are so many men in the world. You are a big president. Why do you have to torture your body for a mere fufan? Look at you. You are just over 25 years old. Because of your body's illness, you have to go to the hospital once? The first time you had gastric bleeding. The second time you had gastritis. The third time you didn't eat on time and had gastric pain in the middle of the night. The doctor just told you that you should not drink in your current condition. It's fine if you drink a small glass, but you drink one glass after another. Do you think this is wine and coffee? If you continue like this, I don't know what will happen to your body." This woman with glasses and a serious tone became angrier and angrier as she spoke. She looked as if she expected better from Tang Guo, which made Tang Guo laugh. She did not expect that there was such a person around the original owner. She did not know what the relationship between them was. Ordinary secretaries did not dare to speak like this. Fu Fan already has someone he likes. President Tang, if you think that he's insensible, ungrateful, and unhappy with him, with the power and resources in your hands, can't you make things difficult for him and let him know who the real investor is? Isn't that good? Mei Min frowned. He is just a young boy. I don't know what holy water he gave you. See, he doesn't think that way at all. All right, I won't drink anymore. Tang Guo also felt a little dizzy. She looked at the empty bottle of red wine on the table, and then looked at the other bottle, which was still half empty. It seemed that the original owner was unhappy and mistook the red wine for Lao Bai. She let go of her hand and handed the goblet to Mei Min. "I want to rest for a while and be alone." This secretary was obviously a shrewd person. In order to avoid any flaws, she should first receive the memory. It's really rare for Boss Tang to listen to me all at once. Mei Min was a little surprised. "I thought that you would only let me out in the end after I've worn my mouth out." She adjusted her glasses with a strange expression. Seeing that Tang Guo had already closed her glasses and seemed to be a little tired, she did not say anything more about Fu Fan. "Boss Tang, I'll go out first. Call me when you're done resting. Also, I'll go out and ask them to prepare some hangover soup for you. You should feel better after drinking the hangover soup." Mei Min said these words and saw that Tang Guo nodded gently. Her heart relaxed a little. Although her boss Tang was a few years younger than her, he was very capable. His parents had an accident when he was 17, so he ended his study abroad and returned home to take charge of the Tang group. Chapter 33-94. From a 17-year-old girl to where she was today, there were a lot of bumps and bruises in her journey. The business world was like a battlefield. Not a single day was easy. A young girl who was originally enjoying the happiness of a family was forced to such a point. Fortunately, she got through it all. The young girl who had missed out on everything in her youth suddenly fell in love with someone. It was inevitable that she was really moved. Mei Min hugged the half-empty bottle of red wine and reflected for a moment. Was she a little too direct with her words just now? Boss Tang hadn't had it easy for so many years. However, when she thought of his physical condition, she felt that she was right. Speaking of which, it was fate that she came to this company and became Tang Guo's secretary. The year Boss Tang took over the company was the year she had just graduated from university. As a graduate, unless they were absolutely capable and professional, it wasn't easy to find a job that they were satisfied with. Moreover, her grades in school were not particularly good, and the university that she was admitted to was ordinary. In today's society, university students were everywhere. Generally, students from colleges and universities were like this when they looked for jobs. It was especially difficult for them to get a job. She majored in administration. To be honest, this major didn't have much of a future unless it was a top-notch one. However, she didn't understand these things at that time. How could she know how to choose a major? She was like a headless fly, running around everywhere. No one helped her consult, so she got into it in a daze. After she graduated, when she looked for a job, she realized that she had no advantage at all. The only advantage she had was probably that she had a good figure and looked okay. It was because of this that she almost got into trouble. Before this, she had done 3 jobs. Not long after she entered the company, she realized that her superiors were interested in her. Those superiors were middle-aged men in their 30s, 40s, or 50s. They had wives and children at home. Their minds were filled with thoughts of how to trick young girls like her, who had just graduated, into their hands and coax her to be their mistress. Perhaps they could tell that she needed this job, so they treated her with kindness and authority. However, she always remembered what her parents said. No matter how poor or hard life was, she had to be upright and upright. She must never do anything that went against her principles and morals. Therefore, every time she found out about such things, she chose to resign. When she quit her 3rd job, she was in despair. She wandered around the job market and broke down completely. At that time, she had even climbed to the top of the building. The pressure of the work environment made it hard for her to breathe. She didn't dare to tell her parents because she was afraid that they would be worried. Just as she slowly walked to the roof, a particularly pleasant voice sounded behind her. "I saw you wandering around the hall for a long time, but in the end you didn't hand over a resume. Did you not see anything that you are satisfied with? What's your major? Do you know some basic office software?" This voice that was like a clear spring finally pulled her back to reality. When she turned around and saw a young lady smiling at her, she mistakenly thought that she was also looking for a job. She asked, "Young lady, are you an adult? Looking for a job at such a young age? At your age, you should be in school." "I'm not here to look for a job. I'm here to hire employees. After looking around, I couldn't find anyone that I was satisfied with. Then I saw you. I think we're a little similar. Since we haven't found anyone suitable, why don't we sit down and talk? Maybe we'll be suitable? Come, let's talk here. I need a secretary." Chapter 33-95. She did not expect that she would be fooled by this young girl who was almost 10 years old to come to this company. In the past, this company was neither big nor small. Now, it was a large listed company and ranked within the top 5 in the country. One could imagine what kind of achievements this little girl had made in less than 10 years. And she, Mei Min, was lucky enough to become the person closest to Boss Tang. Because of that meeting, her fate was changed. Everything was good. The only bad thing was that Boss Tang seemed to have a late crush on her. When he fell in love with a young man, it was like being fed soup and could not be persuaded. From the beginning, she did not think that there was anything good about Fu Fan. However, Boss Tang did not seem to care about this. He said that he just wanted to flatter him. If he was happy, she would naturally be happy. Just a few days ago, Fu Fan announced that he was in love and publicly expressed the person he liked. It was a fair-looking young girl. She looked very clean and came from an ordinary background. She could not compare to Boss Tang in any aspect. It should be said that there was no comparison at all. One was heaven, one was earth. However, Fu Fan liked this kind of girl. He even told Boss Tang that he had always treated her as an older sister. Fu Fan was 2 years younger than Boss Tang. She did not understand. Since he had always treated Boss Tang as an older sister and did not like Boss Tang, why did he accept everything that Boss Tang gave him with a clear conscience? What was even funnier was that Fu Fan said that he could return everything that Boss Tang gave him to her. He hoped that Boss Tang would not disturb his life in the future and even hurt that innocent girl. That girl's name was Lan Yaling. It was indeed very pleasant to hear. Moreover, he had always treated her as an older sister. After knowing this, if it were not for Boss Tang's organization, Mei Min would not have been able to help but trip Fu Fan up. Go and make some hangover soup for Boss Tang. Send it over in 30 minutes. Don't disturb Boss Tang now. She's resting. Mei Min retracted her attention and handed the wine bottle to the waiter. Take this away. Boss Tang wants wine later. We can't give it to her. If she's angry, come and find me. She was hospitalized 3 times in a year. How could her young body withstand such torment? It was all that bullshit Fu Fan's fault. If it weren't for him, would Boss Tang have become like this? Thinking about it, he was really unwilling to accept it. She just didn't understand. There were so many good men who pursued Boss Tang. Among them, there were many who had good backgrounds, good characters, and kept themselves clean. However, Boss Tang just didn't like them. She was also very helpless. Tang Guo was also receiving the memories at this moment. After reading the memories, she was silent for a while. Then, she opened the group chat and greeted her friends. Shangguan Yungu, Martial Uncle, have you arrived in a new world? What happened to the original owner of the body this time? Ziyun, I'm relieved to see my sister here. To be honest, every time my sister leaves the world, I'm so worried that something might happen to her. Qi Xiao, that's right. It's a pity that even if our cultivation has reached the peak of the immortal world, although we can break some space barriers, we still can't travel through the world like our sister. Mo Yun Tian. That's why we can't help our sister. If we could visit you at any time, we wouldn't have to worry so much. Margaret. I bless the school bell every day. Chapter 3396. Margaret. Although I'm best at cursing, I'm also good at giving blessings. I bless the school bell every day, wishing her safety, happiness, and safety, so that she can come to my world of magic as soon as possible. So, school bell, did you come to the world of magic this time? Shangguan Yungu. I don't think so. Otherwise, Martial Uncle wouldn't have reacted like this. Margaret. Brat, do you want to be beaten? Shangguan Yungu. Senior Margaret, although you're very powerful, our worlds are too far apart. You shouldn't be able to come to my world, nor can you hit me. Margaret. But I can curse you and make you unlucky. You won't be able to eat or drink. Shangguan Yungu. According to the cultivation encyclopedia that my master, martial uncles gave me, according to the Almighty's guess, the rules of every small world should be different. Cursing me in your world won't work. Unless you come to my world and curse me face to face. The main thing is that I'm not in your world, so the rules of your world can't find me. You can't find me even if you want to. Margaret. Brat, aren't you afraid of biting your tongue by saying such big words? Let me tell you, there are so many worlds, and there are so many strange things. If I see you in the future, I will throw you into the magic beast forest and let you stay there for a year. Then you will know what despair is. Shangguan Yungu. Senior Margaret. I think you should calculate when Martial Uncle will go to your world. Margaret. Mo Yun Tian. Why don't you control your disciple? Mo Yun Tian. Margaret, calm down. Actually, this Yungu is also telling the truth, although it's not pleasant to hear. Margaret. I'm so angry. You've changed. The tone of your voice has also changed. Your attitude towards me is different from before. So, is it really true that the school bell's words of seeing the new people smile and not the old people cry? Ziyun. Margaret, that's not how you should use this sentence. School bell. Actually, it can be used. According to the situation in the modern world, it can be used with quotation marks. Margaret. School bell, you didn't come to the world of magic this time? In fact, Margaret also understood that if Tangguo was really in the world of magic, she might directly call her and ask about the situation in the world she was in. She was just asking, but she still felt unreconciled. Campus bell. Margaret, it's a pity that we haven't reached your world yet. However, in my world, there should be many beautiful dresses. When the time comes, I will take some photos and send them. My status is not bad. When the time comes, I can send some gifts to you. Hurry up and make a list of what you want. You've helped me a lot before, and I haven't had the chance to thank you. Margaret. Although you didn't come, it's a relief to be able to receive the dress. My mood isn't too bad. After that, Tangguo started talking to the people in the group about the stories that happened in this world. Her identity was a listed company that was ranked within the top 5 in the country. She was less than 26 years old and had taken control of this company when she was less than 10 years old. She had built this small company in less than 10 years. She could be considered a legend. All of this originated from her parents' accident when she was 17 years old. At such a young age, she had no choice but to shoulder this heavy burden. She was supposed to be at a happy and relaxed age, but she had to shoulder so much. It was indeed tiring and bitter. The cause of the matter was that she fell in love with someone. This person was called Fu Fan. A few years ago, he was still a newcomer in the entertainment industry. With her help, he had now gained a firm foothold in the entertainment industry. Chapter 3397. Although Fu Fan was only in his 20s, he was talented and had an outstanding appearance. With her resources supporting him, it wasn't surprising that he would become popular. And this Fu Fan didn't take the route of an ordinary little fresh meat. He was a real actor. Every script he participated in had a good reputation in the eyes of the audience. In fact, every time he was able to choose a good script, it was because of the resources of the original owner, who was the CEO of a top 5 listed company. Without the original owner's resources, Fu Fan's road in the entertainment industry wouldn't have been so smooth. He wouldn't have been able to choose his own scripts. Most likely, he would have been packaged into the same route as most of the little fresh meats. With his qualifications, he might still be popular. But in this industry, what he would experience and what he would have to pay would be unknown. And those productions with good reputation might not belong to him anymore. After all, how could a slightly famous director let a newcomer in the entertainment industry be the main lead? Fu Fan, who was not even 25 years old, had already won the Best Actor award once and the Best Actor award twice. And that person called Lan Yeling, who was the person Fu Fan liked, was actually a small assistant by Fu Fan's side. After countless interactions, Fu Fan confirmed his thoughts and decided to be with Lan Yeling. Although he couldn't disclose their relationship for the time being, he had to express his feelings to Lan Yeling. Of course, he knew that the original owner liked him. Like all men, he didn't take the initiative, didn't refuse, and didn't take responsibility. Many men in the world were like this. At first, the original owner liked him. He didn't like anyone, so he didn't think it was a big deal. Everyone in the industry knew that Fu Fan was the original owner's man. Fu Fan didn't deny this before. Now that he was moved by Lan Yeling, he couldn't let those rumors spread. And the original owner and Fu Fan's relationship was basically to have a meal together. Then, she would ask him about his situation and propose to him what resources to give him. Fu Fan only needed to accept it. He never needed to ask for it. This was because the original owner felt that if Fu Fan took the initiative to ask, it would be easy to make him lose face. Since she liked someone, of course, she had to bring the best things in front of him. But when Fu Fan was moved by Lan Yeling, when he was asked about his relationship with the original owner, he denied that they were a couple. Instead, he said that he had always treated the original owner as a good sister. This was also the reason why the original owner drank too much this time. In the past, he drank because he had to socialize. This time, he drank because he was heartbroken. After this incident, the original owner didn't do anything to Fu Fan. She didn't even use any resources to make Fu Fan suffer. But because Fu Fan denied his relationship with the original owner and was found out that the person he liked might be his little assistant, those who didn't like Fu Fan planned to take action against him. Without the protection of the original owner, what were they afraid of? Even if he was a popular celebrity, it would not be easy for him to gain a foothold in the industry without any backing. Moreover, Fu Fan was a rather aloof person and had offended quite a number of people. In the beginning, Fu Fan was indeed in a difficult situation. He even had his script, role, and variety show snatched away from him. During those 3 months, each day felt like a year. When the original owner came back to her senses, she didn't hesitate to help Fu Fan after knowing all this. Chapter 3398. Just like what she said at the beginning, if you like someone, you can't bear to see him wronged. You'll give him everything he wants. She was completely the role of an affectionate supporting female lead. Later, the original owner and Fu Fan met a few times. Fu Fan also knew that she helped to solve this problem, so he was quite grateful. However, when he returned home, he found that Lan Yeling was a little unhappy. Lan Yeling didn't say anything bad about the original owner. She just felt guilty towards Fu Fan. She said that it was all because of her that his future was almost ruined. She said that she was useless. She also said that choosing the original owner was his best choice. The male and female leads in this world didn't have a particularly high status. Other than the time when the original owner took care of him, Fu Fan and Lan Yeling did have a lot of difficulties after being together. But they were the male and female leads. Without the backing of the original owner, they would meet more noble people. In the end, they wouldn't have to be afraid of anyone. Because of Lan Yeling's words, Fu Fan met with the original owner again. He firmly expressed his attitude and said that he was very grateful for her help before. They had nothing to do with each other. He hoped that she wouldn't interfere in his matters. Whatever problems he encountered, he would solve it himself. Fu Fan's words did hurt the original owner. However, she was a person who was in charge of a company before she was 10 years old. She had already trained a face that didn't change in any situation. No matter what Fu Fan said, she had a very indifferent look. It was as if she didn't care about anything. It was hard to figure out. In fact, from Fu Fan's mental activity, he should have liked the original owner. Maybe it was the original owner's personality, or maybe it was the original owner's unfathomable feelings. Fu Fan couldn't figure it out, and that little bit of liking slowly disappeared. Lan Yeling was like a little girl. She told him everything. She was more timid, making him feel like he was needed. But with the original owner, he always felt that he was protected under her wings. He even felt like he was being played with like a doll. Maybe she didn't like him at all. She just treated him as a toy. In front of Lan Yeling, he felt like a trickling stream. It was like a clear spring, making people feel comfortable. In front of the original owner, he felt like he was facing an endless sea. On the surface, it looked very calm. But no one knew that this mysterious sea would have such a turbulent storm and huge waves. The original owner was indeed sad, but she had never hurt Fu Fan. After that, they never met again. However, the original owner didn't stop helping Fu Fan. It was just that this time, she secretly helped him and didn't mention these things to Fu Fan. Moreover, her methods were very covert, which only made people feel that Fu Fan was very lucky. She even used some hidden connections to get people to help take care of Fu Fan. She also asked them to keep the secret and asked them not to make things difficult for Fu Fan. He also said that liking a person was his own business. Not liking a person was also that person's business. There was nothing to lose. Fu Fan didn't know any of this. Relying on the thrilling crises that he had overcome time and time again, he had gotten to know many people and his status had slowly risen. With those connections, he had also started a company and his status was even higher. Those who wanted to make things difficult for him had to think twice before making things difficult for him. He was no longer afraid of some people in the circle. After all, he had invested in many of the movies and TV series that he acted in. Who could make things difficult for him? Like to wear it quickly. Supporting female lead. Calm down. Please collect it. Wear it quickly. Supporting female lead. Calm down. Chapter 3399. Coming back to her senses, not long after Fu Fan left the original owner actually met a young man. Then he brought the young man home. Many people thought that the young man was her new lover. The young man was younger than Fu Fan. He was only in his early 20s. After she brought him home, he had been living in her house. This was a treatment that Fu Fan did not have. Because of this, those people did not hesitate to attack Fu Fan. Most importantly, the young man did not look like Fu Fan. His temperament was also very different from Fu Fan's. No one doubted that the young man was Fu Fan's substitute. As mentioned earlier, Fu Fan used to like the original owner of this body, but for some reason, he always felt that their statuses were not equal and they were not worthy of each other, so he gradually put away that kind of like. The young man brought back by the host was called Wen Huai. Different from what others thought, he was not the host's new lover. Once when she went to drink to relieve boredom, she accidentally met the young man. The young man was also a small-time actor. During the day, he accepted some roles and worked as a bartender in the bar at night. Fu Fan indeed influenced her to bring him back, because she used to know Fu Fan in the bar. She saw Fu Fan being forced to drink alcohol. In addition, she thought that by bringing a new person back, she would be able to divert attention and forget Fu Fan. Of course, she did not. Later, she saw that the young man was very hardworking, so she decided to help him. Later, she treated the young man as her younger brother. Wen Huai understood everything and treated the host as his real sister. When Fu Fan was successful and had his own company, no one knew why he began to attack the host's company crazily. After Fu Fan left, the host's work and rest were very regular. Even if Mei Min and Wen Huai had been persuading her to take care of her body, she still insisted on doing it. When she was busy, she forgot about it. In this world, she actually had no relatives. In fact, Fu Fan was very aggressive. He had been prepared and joined forces with many companies to attack her. She did not expect this. Even if she was capable and resourceful, she was inevitably a little flustered in the face of such a sudden situation, especially Fu Fan's endless attacks. In the end, she felt very tired and did not care about it. In the last days of her life, she made arrangements for the few people close to her, as well as for Wen Huai. However, at this moment when Huai left, it would be a lie to say that he wasn't disappointed. She had truly regarded Wen Huai as her younger brother. However, he had left her at her most critical moment. No one could bear such a blow. But she didn't expect that Wen Huai didn't leave her, but went to get help. When Wen Huai came back, she knew the truth. At this time, her body was already at the end of its life. She didn't have much time left. Wen Huai told her everything. He said that he would avenge her and make Fu Fan suffer. She also said that the day she brought him back, she was his biological sister. However, the original owner's last wish was to not let him care about this matter, to let him leave here, and to let him be well. Wen Huai did not agree. She said that she would not die in peace. In fact, she knew that at this time, Fu Fan was very powerful. Even if Wen Huai's family background was good and he had a lot of resources in his hands, there would be no end to the fight. The one who would hurt would be her brother. She didn't want to see another innocent person get hurt. After all, this was her only family. Wen Huai said that he was her biological sister. Weren't they family? Chapter 3400. Wen Huai had promised the original owner that after the original owner died, he would leave after helping her with her funeral. Unexpectedly, Fu Fan came at this time and they had a fight as soon as they saw each other. They fought until their heads bled. Neither of them had a good time. Later, Fu Fan said that he would personally help her with her funeral. Wen Huai felt that this person was strange. But his family's power was not here, so he couldn't beat Fu Fan. Fu Fan was already prepared and drove him away. The story had more or less come to an end here. Wen Huai had promised the body's original owner that he would not fight with Fu Fan. However, he would secretly make things difficult for Fu Fan, the kind that no one could catch. Fu Fan didn't look for trouble with Wen Huai either. The two of them were like fire and water, but they seemed to be abiding by some rules. They minded their own business and lived in harmony with each other. In this story, the appearance of the female lead, Lan Yaling, was relatively rare, especially after Fu Fan had his own company. Even after many years, when he married Lan Yaling was like a person who didn't have a sense of existence. Even so, many people still envied Lan Yaling. Since Fu Fan stopped acting, Lan Yaling was no longer an assistant, but a rich wife at home. This was all the plot of this world. It didn't seem to be very intense, and nothing too crazy happened. If there was anyone who was the most hateful, it should be Fu Fan. He was an ungrateful person who bit the hand that fed him and had an extreme character. But Fu Fan's behavior after the original owner's death was very strange. Many people guessed that Fu Fan was nostalgic. After all, the original owner used to like him and helped him so much. Without the original owner, he couldn't have gotten to where he was today. Even if he was a competitor, she had helped him before. It was right for him to remember her now. But after reading the memories, Tangua didn't think so. Fu Fan liked the original Tangua. He always liked her. Even if he later hid his feelings, and even lied to himself that he didn't like the original Tangua. In the end, when the original Tangua died, the love he hid was revealed again. No, that fondness should have appeared uncontrollably after he had stabilized his position and remembered that there was still Wen Huai by the original owner's side. Tangua had already guessed why Fu Fan wanted to deal with the host's company. Perhaps he felt that the host had brought another man home not long after he left. In his heart, he always felt that the original owner only treated him as a plaything. He was not valued and could be teased at will. Naturally, he was not reconciled. However, he had lied to himself about many things. By the time everything was over, it was already too late to salvage the situation. Fu Fan was a proud, conceited, and self-abased person. Of course, he wouldn't admit that he actually liked the original owner, especially with his status at that time. The grudges between him and the original owner, he didn't intend to explain anything. Just like this, he spent the rest of his life with Lan Yaling. School beauty. That's all the memories I have. Margaret. This Fu Fan guy really makes me speechless. That girl is so silly. Is this kind of person worth helping? Shangguan Yonggu. Actually, I can understand one thing. The girl's journey was not easy. It was said that all her relatives, including her parents, were gone in that accident. She was in charge of the company alone. When she suddenly fell in love with someone, she must have treated her wholeheartedly. Ziyun. Actually, if it wasn't for responsibility, it would be difficult for an ordinary person, who lost so many relatives all of a sudden, to support himself in his teens. Mo Yun Tian. Yes, don't ordinary people value relationships the most? Qi Shao. How to solve it depends on our sister. No matter what Fu Fan's thoughts are, I don't think we should let him have an easy time. How can you like someone like that? Ungrateful bastard. The people in the group were discussing the story of Tangua's world in full swing. But half an hour later, Tangua left the group. Chapter 3401. She remembered where she was sitting before. It was probably not at home, but in a private room in a bar. There was another thing that she was more concerned about. It was today that the original owner would meet Wen Huai, who was the big boy that she treated as her brother. Wen Huai came from a good family, but he liked acting so much that his family did not agree. They thought that he was the son of the one family and should study hard and take charge of the family company. In addition, there were many conflicts in the Wen family. In the end, Wen Huai decided to go out on his own. He did not use the Wen family's power and went to a place that was out of the Wen family's control. The Wen family also thought that he should suffer a little outside so that he would know that it was not easy to be outside without power and influence. He started as an extra. After all, he had no connections and did not have much money. Fortunately, he was handsome and had some acting skills. He was more eye-catching among the extras. In order to prove himself, he would come to the bar to be a bartender when he was free, which was at night. Perhaps it was because he was too handsome that he was often harassed. Some rich women even wanted to keep him and thought of various ways to make things difficult for him. When Huai was really distressed about this, "Boss Tang, are you awake? Come in." The waiter brought Tang Gua a hangover soup. She drank half of it and asked, "Where's Secretary Mei? I'll get her for you right away." The waiter ran out quickly, and Mei Min came in after a while. Mei Min was relieved to see that Tang Gua's complexion looked much better. She handed the coat to Tang Gua and said, "Boss Tang, you can't drink like this in the future. You have to take care of your body. You're so young. How can you consume your life in advance?" "I know, Secretary Mei. I won't do anything stupid because of this in the future." Tang Gua put on the coat and smiled at Mei Min. Mei Min was stunned and said, "You've thought it through? Boss Tang, you don't think that I'm annoying. So you deliberately said this to brush me off, right? You have a lot of time to observe. I'm telling the truth." "That's true." Mei Min was a little absent-minded. Boss Tang had not joked with her like this for a long time. Did he really think it through? "Boss Tang, do you want to go back now?" Tang Gua looked up and smiled. "If I don't go back, do I have to spend the night here?" "No, what's good about this place? It's so comfortable at home. By the way, Boss Tang, can you take it? You have a meeting at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. After the meeting, there are many documents that need your signature." "No problem." "Sure. Can you arrange more time for me to work out in the future?" When Mei Min heard this, she was a little happy. "Okay. Do you want to hire a private tutor? You haven't been in good health for the past 2 years. Not only do you need private training, but you also need a nutritionist. You always refused before. You can arrange it." Mei Min was so happy that even her glasses could not hide her joy. Tang Gua looked sideways. "Secretary Mei, you look pretty when you smile. Why do you always have a straight face? Smile more. Maybe I'll agree to your arrangement long ago." Mei Min stopped smiling. "Boss Tang, you're still joking at a time like this? I'm your top secretary. If I smile all the time, won't I embarrass you?" "I don't think so. You can smile however you want." Mei Min felt that Boss Tang was really different today. He was especially like a little girl. They walked out of the private room and went to the hall. Tang Gua heard a lot of noise. She looked at the bar counter. There were many people there. Even though there were many people gathered around to watch the show, she still saw the handsome big boy standing behind the bar counter at a glance. Chapter 3402. "Kid, what do you think we should do about this? This is a famous watch. I just left it here for a while and you broke it." The speaker was a middle-aged man. He was a little fat and had a fierce face. At first glance, one could tell that he was not a kind person. "You said you didn't touch my watch. How did it break then? Water got into it and now the needle is not moving. Do you know how expensive this watch is? You can't afford it even if you sell yourself." When Huai glanced at the watch in the middle-aged man's hand, in his heart, he really wanted to say, "What kind of famous watch is this?" He also estimated the price in his heart. At most, it was less than 300,000 yuan. However, for the current him, 300,000 yuan was indeed a very large number. After all, the present was not like the past. He was now a poor man who worked at night for his dream and to survive. He was no longer a young master. When Huai adjusted his attitude and controlled his expression to not show any sarcasm. Instead, he said calmly, "Sir, as far as I know, to put so much in such a watch, you first need to find a place with water. At least enough water to submerge the watch. Then, throw the watch in. As for how long it will take, I don't know. After all, many famous watches seem to have waterproof functions. If you want to quickly get water in, there is a shortcut, and that is to first break the watch. Under normal circumstances, the quality of your watch is very good. It may not break if you knock it lightly, so you need to knock it hard. However, if you knock it hard, it will easily damage the surface. Of course, if you use a professional electrical method, you can only knock a small gap on the interface of the watch, just enough to let it soak in water. That's a different story." When Huai's words made the people around him laugh, Don't look at him as a bartender. He still has some knowledge. What nonsense are you talking about? Are you trying to shirk responsibility? The middle-aged man grabbed Wen Huai's collar. Kid, you're so young. You can't do anything but shirk responsibility. Do you not want to work here anymore? Why don't you ask your manager who I am? Now, you want Ma Shan to solve this problem for me, apologize, and compensate for my watch. I'm sure I didn't break it. Besides, I only have wine here, no water. Wen Huai's voice turned cold. How could he not see that the middle-aged man was looking for trouble? In fact, ever since he left home, he had been in a lot of trouble. However, this was not the first time he had encountered a scam like this. Every time, the result would leave him a little speechless. It clearly had nothing to do with him, but in the end, he was the one who was punished. Therefore, not long after he came out, he had been scammed countless times. This was because he had promised his family that he would not go back until he made a name for himself. Otherwise, if he failed and went back, he would have to listen to his family's arrangements and wouldn't be able to do what he wanted to do. How much is this watch? I helped Wen Huai out. It's not a big deal. Don't make things difficult for someone who works here. At this moment, a woman's voice sounded. Tang Gua happened to walk into the crowd and saw the woman who spoke. She was slightly plump and her skin was fair, but her facial features were not good-looking. She was roughly 50 years old. Vertex. Chapter 3403. This woman's gaze had been on Wen Huai the entire time and had not shifted away. 500,000. This watch is worth 500,000. You want to compensate for him? You really want to compensate? This is 500,000, not 50,000. The middle-aged woman took out her name tag and handed it to the other party. I'll compensate. Are you afraid that I can't afford it? 500,000, right? Yes, 500,000. System. Host. Do you want to bring Wen Huai home? The reason why the system made a sound was because it had found something wrong. As for what was wrong, it still needed to observe for a while. Before Tang Gua could answer, Wen Huai actually spoke. Your watch isn't worth 500,000. According to the market price, it should be around 200,000. I don't know when you bought it, so you have to include the depreciation fee. In my opinion, this watch isn't even worth 200,000. It's broken now. At this point, Wen Huai added, I didn't break it. I can guarantee it. Bah, you poor man. Do you know what a watch is? If it's not worth 200,000, then it's not worth it. Anyway, when I bought it, it was 500,000. Wen Huai stared. Then you must have been cheated by a black-hearted merchant. If you don't believe me, just go to the official website and look at the price. The various styles are clearly written on it. If you don't believe the official website, you should have the merchant's contact information after buying this watch. You can call their after-sales service and ask. Hearing this, Tang Gua couldn't help but laugh. Boss Tang? Mei Min was a little surprised. It had been a long time since she saw Boss Tang laugh so happily. No, ever since they met, Boss Tang had never been happy. Only every time a project was completed and the company had a new breakthrough, would she smile a little more. Nothing. Boss Tang, aren't you going to leave? That rich woman must have taken a liking to that young man and is now setting a trap for him. Mei Min explained. That woman is a coal mine owner. She just came to this city a few years ago and entered a new industry. However, her company's project doesn't conflict with our company's project. Mei Min's explanation was mainly to let Tang Gua know that this woman was just a character. As Boss Tang's secretary, she definitely knew more than other people, especially the new industries in the city. She had a list of those with a little influence. It's not very kind of you to do this. Tang Gua commented. Isn't this kind of thing consensual? It's too shameless to set a trap for someone. Mei Min's eyes. When it came to setting traps, no one could compare to Mr. Tang, who was by her side. He always had a good time trapping his opponents. As long as I'm here today, no one will dare to bully you. The woman had already filled in the check. Wen Huai quickly stopped her. Director Liu, thank you for your kindness, but there's no need. Who couldn't tell that this woman wanted to hit on him? Was he the kind of person who would be hit on for a mere 500,000 yuan? Moreover, this woman didn't look like a good person at first glance. They were really not suitable for each other. He was only in his early 20s this year, and she was already in her 50s. Didn't she think that it was very inappropriate? Chapter 3404. Besides, if he wanted to find a girlfriend, he would definitely find someone younger than him. Even if she wasn't younger than him, she had to be around his age. Moreover, he didn't believe that there was nothing fishy about what happened today. It was most likely this woman and the middle-aged man who set a trap for him. It was all his fault. He was too good-looking. Ever since he left home, this particularly good-looking face of his had caused him a lot of trouble. Thinking of his previous experience, he felt a little helpless. He had been here for less than half a month, and this time he had gotten into big trouble. 500,000. He should think about how to come up with 500,000. He couldn't ask his family for it, and he couldn't borrow it from his friends. His family would definitely send people to keep an eye on him. If he borrowed it from his friends, he would violate the rules and have to go back to inherit the family property immediately. He couldn't give in. If this woman got her way, he wouldn't have to continue living. Wen Huai was deep in thought, thinking about what to do. The woman who liked Wen Huai had already filled out the check and was about to hand it to the man. At this moment, Tang Guo called Wen Huai's name and grabbed the middle-aged fat woman's wrist at the same time. We don't need President Lu's help with Wen Huai's matter. The middle-aged fat woman frowned and was especially impatient. Just as she was about to explode, she saw Tang Guo and Mei Min, who was beside Tang Guo. In this city, Tang Guo's mission is a famous one. In the business circle, there was no one who didn't know her. Even if they didn't know her, they should have seen her photos. After all, a woman as young as her who had built a company to such a large scale might not be found in the world, let alone in the country. So it's Boss Tang. The middle-aged fat woman, who was about to get angry, suddenly smiled. What a coincidence. I didn't expect Boss Tang to be here. What a coincidence. The middle-aged fat woman was very nervous. How could she not be? She had heard about Tang Guo's deeds and was especially envious in her heart. Therefore, she defeated her brother, took over her family's coal mining business, and took out the money to start a company. She hoped that one day, she could stand at the same height as Tang Guo, or even surpass her. I don't think you understand watches. Tang Guo lowered her head gently. After all, she probably didn't know this fat middle-aged woman. In fact, she wasn't interested in knowing her. That watch is indeed not worth 500,000 yuan. Just as Wen Huai said, it's worth at most 100,000 yuan after accounting for depreciation. You might have been tricked. Mei Min was very confused. Is Boss Tang going to be a busybody? She subconsciously looked at Wen Huai. Did Boss Tang know this young man named Wen Huai? She knew a little about this young man. He had been in this bar for less than half a month. Because of his handsome appearance, he had attracted a lot of female customers. As long as he was here, he would be mixing drinks almost non-stop. She suspected that this young man would not be able to work for long before his hands would break from exhaustion. Indeed, some rich women would want to keep such fresh meat as a mistress or have the intention to play with them. Couldn't be, right? Could it be that her boss Tang had also taken a liking to her? This time, Mei Min seriously looked at Wen Huai. The young man was clean and had a pair of bright eyes. He didn't look like someone who had been out for a long time. If Boss Tang really liked him, then it was fine. Suddenly, she remembered something. When Boss Tang met Fu Fan was also in a bar and was being embarrassed by a female investor. At that time, Boss Tang helped Fu Fan. Now, Wen Huai was here. Chapter 3405. Thinking of this, Mei Min had some misgivings. However, if she could get Boss Tang to let go of Fu Fan and use this Wen Huai as a distraction, it would be fine. After all, Wen Huai needed help right now. Even if you have a lot of money, this is not how you should spend it. Tang would gently push the check towards the fat, middle-aged woman. She then turned around and said to Mei Min, "Secretary Mei, tell Assistant Li to come over and handle this." After speaking, Tangwa looked at Wenhui, who was standing behind the bar and staring at her without blinking. Wenhui, come back with me. Oh, okay. Sis, I'll be right out. Wenhui immediately reacted. He turned around, packed his things, and quickly came out from behind the bar. With one glance, it was obvious that this beautiful young lady was here to help him. He was extremely touched. After being out for so long, he hadn't met many good people. All the men he met thought he was living off a woman. They called him a gigolo and looked down on him. All the women he met wanted to take advantage of him, so he had to be on his guard. The moment this beautiful big sister appeared, he felt as if his deeply wounded heart had been healed. Wenhui happily walked over to Tangwa's side. The fat, middle-aged woman's expression immediately changed. Was this young man related to Boss Tang? Didn't he say he was from out of town and had nothing to do with him? She gave the man with the watch a look, gesturing for him to leave first. If this matter didn't work out today, then seeing how this young man was related to Boss Tang, it most likely wouldn't work out in the future. But once she surpassed Tang Kor, she would have no choice but to succeed. Unexpectedly, before the middle-aged man could leave, he was blocked by a tall young man. The most important thing was that the young man who blocked him was wearing a suit and was 1.8 meters tall. He should have looked very scary, but this young man was wearing glasses and carrying a file bag. My name is Li Hufei. I'm Boss Tang's manager. Secretary Mei just explained the situation here. In that case, sir, let's deal with the problem of this watch. If it's convenient, could you please provide us with the receipt for this watch? Even if he lost it, it wouldn't matter. As far as I know, although this brand's watches aren't the best, their after-sale service is pretty good. There's a serial number behind each watch. You only need to call their after-sale service to know the condition of the watch. There are a lot of people here. Let's talk in a private room. The middle-aged man wanted to run, but Li Hufei was tall and strong, blocking his way. What made him even more afraid was that two men had appeared beside him at some point. They were also very tall and looked a little fierce. Seeing this, the middle-aged man was about to cry. This is not Assistant Li but Li Baowei, right? Miss, thank you for just now. If it wasn't for you, I might have gotten into trouble again. After walking out of the bar, Wenhui quickly thanked him. All right, how should we deal with this? We don't know the result yet, but Assistant Li should handle it in the best way. Tangwa said. No matter what, I still have to thank you. By the way, give me your phone number. I'll repay you when I'm rich. Tangwa glanced at the car in front of her. Where are you going? I'm going home. I helped you deal with a big problem and you just agreed to come with me. Are you going home? Tangwa's words made Wenhui a little dumbfounded. The summit. Chapter 3406. Then what do you mean? Wenhui looked at Tangwa with uncertainty and asked tentatively, You want me to go home with you? Yes. Tangwa nodded. You agreed just now. Why? Are you going back on your word now? No. Just now he thought that this beautiful young lady saw that he was about to enter the tiger's den and came to his rescue to help him solve his problem. What he said was true. When he became rich in the future, he would definitely repay her well. There were not many good people like her in the world. But now, could he take back his words? This pretty lady actually coveted his looks, so she was planning to take advantage of him and take advantage of his misfortune? If you don't want to go back with me, I won't force you. Tangwa just wanted to tease him. She didn't really want to force him to do anything. She just felt that his reaction was a little cute. System. I knew it. Sure enough. He was already a sharp-eyed soldier, so he could see that something was wrong with one look. This guy really knew how to pick. Now, living under the same roof, the pavilion closest to the water enjoys the moonlight first. He felt that he would have an endless supply of dog food every day. He felt a little sad and bitter, but he was also very happy and gratified. After traveling through so many worlds, he probably couldn't find another person as persistent as her. Speaking of which, he had to thank this person for continuously chasing after his host's footsteps and adding some color and warmth to her endless journey. Actually, it's not impossible to go back with you. Wenhui just wanted to turn around and leave. He really didn't expect that such a beautiful young lady would also like his looks. He was very surprised, but it wasn't that he couldn't accept it. After all, he was so good-looking. It was normal to attract attention. But it was the first time he met such a beautiful young lady. Mainly, he felt that the way she looked at him was very cute. So, it was not impossible to go with her. "Do you have any other conditions?" Tang Gua asked with interest. The taste of being a CEO was really good. System. You get into character very quickly. Mei Min silently pushed up the frame of her glasses. Was Boss Tang's attention really diverted by this young man Wen Huai? This young man actually looked more pleasing to the eye than Fu Fan. Wen Huai walked in front of Tang Gua, organized his words and said, "I can go home with you. After all, you helped me solve a big problem. But there are some things that I want to let nature take its course. Don't come so quickly." Although he used to think that a girlfriend should be younger than him or around the same age. But now, he felt that age was not that big of a difference. Age was not a problem for such a beautiful lady. Most importantly, he felt that she should be a very good person. Her gaze made people feel very comfortable. Another problem was that he felt that if he turned around and left, he might regret it. Although he didn't know what was going on, he had always been a person who followed his heart. "Get in the car." The driver had already opened the car door. Wen Huai hurriedly pushed the driver away and opened the car door. "You go first." Tang Gua did not stand on ceremony and sat on it. When Wen Huai saw that she was already seated, he followed her and sat down. Mei Min sat in the front passenger seat. Through the rearview mirror, she glanced at the two people behind her. She still felt that it was a little unreal. "I haven't asked your name yet. After all, we are going to live together." System. After all this time, he was still a thick-skinned person. Tang Gua. The Tang family's Tang Gua? Although he had never seen her before, Wen Huai could guess her identity based on her name and her aura. Tang Gua nodded and did not say anything. "I didn't expect you to be so young and so good-looking." Mei Min was a little amused. This kid really knew how to talk. He was indeed much more likable than Fu Fan. "That watch is really not worth 500,000 yuan. I think those two colluded and that woman took a fancy to my looks." Wen Huai said to himself. He did not feel that there was a problem at all. "I didn't take a fancy to her. I think we are too different and not suitable for each other. But she seems to be a little stubborn. She appears in front of me every day. Fortunately, I met you today." Mei Min could not help but burst out laughing. Then, she felt that she had lost her composure. She coughed lightly and tried her best to straighten the corners of her mouth. "Brother Fan, what's wrong? The car is already here. Get in. Let's go." Fu Fan, who was wearing a cap and a mask, had been standing in the corner all this time. He had seen the scene of Tang Gua and Wen Huai talking just now. After hearing his assistant's words, he nodded and quickly walked to the car. After getting in, he took off his mask and cap. His assistant saw that he did not look very well and asked with concern if he was feeling unwell. "It's nothing." Seeing that he did not want to say more, the assistant did not ask further. Chapter 3407. This is your room. Before going back, Tang Gua had already contacted the helpers at home and asked them to tidy up a room for him. Wen Huai was a little surprised by Tang Gua's quick reaction. It seemed that this pretty lady really liked his looks. Actually, she was already so pretty, but she was still not satisfied. She was actually so greedy. "I casually prepared some toiletries. If you don't like them, you can just tell the helpers tomorrow." Tang Gua stood at the door. "Go in. It's late. You can rest." Wen Huai. It seemed that this lady was still quite respectful. He said to take it slow, and she really didn't force him at all. Actually, age really wasn't an issue sometimes. Moreover, this lady looked very young. Her skin was fair and she was good-looking. Wen Huai? Tang Gua noticed that Wen Huai's mind was wandering. She almost couldn't hold back her laughter. In order to prevent her expression from collapsing, she was already trying very hard. "Is there anything else, miss? I'm very satisfied with this room. I like it very much. You asked someone to help you tidy it up. It must be very good." Although his own room used to be bigger and better than this one, after leaving home these days, he had long understood that not everyone could afford to live in the room he had lived in since he was young. He had also experienced the days of sharing a room with strangers and squeezing into a rented room. That feeling was not pleasant. After all, everyone's living habits were very different. In the living room and sofa of the rented room, his roommate's smelly socks and unwashed clothes would often be found. Sometimes, when he opened the door in the morning, he would even see a pile of trash in the living room. He only had a small amount of startup capital. It was just enough to survive outside. He really couldn't casually change to a better place. Because of living in such a place, his family had called him several times, especially his mother. She said that it was so hard outside. He should go home and listen to their arrangements. He should go to the company and study hard to inherit the family property in the future. Once he listened to their arrangements, he would have no choice but to give up his childhood dream. Of course, he refused. Since it was a dream, if he didn't try to fulfill it, he would have regrets in his heart, no matter how good his life was in the future. It could be said that the hardships he had suffered these days were more than what he had suffered since he was young. Especially when he went from place to work, it allowed him to meet all kinds of people. "Are we still going to the bar tomorrow?" Tang Gua asked. "Do you have anything to do during the day?" Speaking of this, Tang Gua paused for a moment. "If you don't want to do it, that's fine too. Just stay at home obediently." "System, do you want me to be your lover? I have 2 more scenes tomorrow." When Huai scratched his head in embarrassment and revealed a silly smile, "I'm currently a walk-on actor. My dream since I was a child has been to act. I look forward to the day when I can appear on the screens in the streets and alleys for everyone to see." "Did you go to film school?" When Huai shook his head. "No, the conditions don't allow it." Initially, he had planned to secretly apply for a film school, but he couldn't win against his family. In the end, he obediently listened to their arrangements and went to the school his family had set their eyes on. He just felt that since he was young, he had been obedient to his family's arrangements step by step. He felt like he was living the way his family wanted him to be. Suddenly, one day, he understood that even if he still had to work for his family's company in the future, he had to work hard for his dream and fight for it. Chapter 3408. "If you need any help, you can come to me," Tang Gua said. When Huai subconsciously glanced at her and said in a weak voice, "Miss, what's our relationship now?" He suspected that this pretty girl had an ulterior motive and was planning to use this opportunity to make a move on him. What should he do? If it really came to that, should he give in or not? "What do you think?" Tang Gua asked back. She didn't answer directly, but when Huai understood the meaning in her eyes. "Okay, rest well. What time are you going to the set tomorrow?" "Maybe a little earlier. I have to leave at around 7. It's still so far away. It's inconvenient to take the bus later." Once upon a time, he never thought that he would give up his current comfortable life and run to squeeze in the bus and subway with those office workers in order to chase his dream. Squeezing in the bus and subway was secondary. In fact, it was good to have some experience occasionally. It was just that it was super crowded when he woke up a little later. Many times, he was thrown out of the car and his clothes would be squeezed and wrinkled. Especially when he came back a little later, he would see a few tired office workers scattered on the bus. It was because of these experiences that he didn't dislike his family's arrangements so much. In fact, he used to live a life that countless people envied. He shouldn't complain so much. However, he still didn't plan to give up chasing his dream. His family supported him for 5 years. In these 5 years, whether he succeeded or failed, he would leave the entertainment industry and return home. If he succeeded, maybe he would be a guest star or something in the future when he was free. If he failed, he would basically disappear in front of everyone. That would be a true disappearance without leaving an impression. It meant that he wasn't suitable for this line of work. Therefore, it was better to leave early. "Then I'll get someone to send you there tomorrow." When Huai quickly shook his head. "Forget it. I'll take the bus and subway. It's more convenient to go early." "Where are you going?" when Huai thought for a moment and told her where he was going. It's on the way. Tang Gua heard the location. Then you can go out with me. I have to go to the company early tomorrow. After the driver sends me to the company, he will send you there. It's convenient and convenient. It's decided then. After that, Tang Gua turned around and left. System, how scheming. However, it did seem to be on the way. When Huai stared at Tang Gua's back dumbfoundedly and quickly digested the information. Actually, it was fine. Anyway, the young lady said that it was on the way, so he didn't want to be seen. He asked the driver to stop a little further away. As for his family, it shouldn't matter if they found out. After all, they weren't his former friends. There didn't seem to be such a clause in their agreement. If his family members asked what their relationship was, how should he answer? Girlfriend? If he answered that it was his girlfriend, would his family believe him? After all, she was the CEO of Tangkor, a woman who was famous in the national business circle. Speaking of which, he had heard of this young lady before. His family often mentioned her in front of him. They said that she was only a few years older than him, but he did not do anything serious all day long. She had already made her company one of the top 5 companies in the country. In that case, he would say that she was his girlfriend. He would say that he had just met her and wanted to give it a try. Why did she like him? Of course, it was because he was especially good-looking and attracted her attention. In addition, she had good taste. Through his appearance, she could see what was inside him. Chapter 3409. As soon as Fu Fan returned home, he couldn't help but mock the scene he saw earlier. As expected, that woman did indeed treat him like a plaything. Back then, everyone was envious of him. After all, the woman that supported him was the CEO of Tangkor. Countless people said that he was the most important person in the CEO's heart. But he never believed that these high and mighty women would actually place someone in their heart. Wasn't it because she was interested in him that she used all those resources to support him? Others might think that woman liked him, but he never felt it. He didn't deny the help that she gave him. But since she treated him like a plaything, he would have to leave her sooner or later. Besides, he was already used to it. Naturally, he couldn't continue spreading rumors about their ambiguous relationship. The main thing was they really had no relationship at all. Besides, she was such a high and mighty person. How could she possibly be interested in him? Luckily, he didn't fall for her. From the moment they met, she had been like that. Everything she did was well taken care of, and everything was arranged properly. No matter where he was, as long as she wanted to know, she would know in an instant. If she wanted to see him, what she said in the morning would most likely appear in front of him in the afternoon. He had indeed had enough of this kind of life. Sure enough, now that he had announced his relationship, she had found a new lover in just a few days. And it was a handsome young man in his early 20s. She even brought him home from a bar. This was in line with her usual style. He already knew that she was like this, so he wasn't surprised. Fu Fan ignored the slight discomfort in his heart and gave Lan Yaling a phone call. Thinking about Lan Yaling, his little assistant, Fu Fan smiled a little more and his mood improved. However, the two of them didn't continue chatting. After about 20 minutes, a phone call came in. It was a call from Fu Fan's manager. He had no choice but to stop chatting with Lan Yaling and answer the phone. Chingo, why are you calling so late at night? What's the matter? Fu Fan asked unhurriedly. After chatting with Lan Yaling for a while, he was in a good mood. Xiao Fan, I have some bad news, Chun Hung, who was also Fu Fan's manager, said in a serious tone. The role that was previously confirmed has been taken by someone else. I just called and asked. Director Li was hesitant about the reason and said that he had a new idea. It seems that there's no chance. Xiao Fan's acting skills are obvious to all these years. Previously, everyone was fighting over her, but she changed her mind in the blink of an eye. Little Fan, that matter has affected you too much. Chun Hang did not expect that Fu Fan, who had always been steady and smart, would choose such an inappropriate time to announce his relationship with his assistant, Lan Yaling. He also said that he was not a fan of popularity, but an actor. Announcing his relationship would not have much of an impact on the fans. On the other hand, the fans were not affected much. The biggest impact was that they had lost the support of Boss Tang. Fu Fan, who had no power, would have a hard time surviving in the industry. It didn't matter if you were a best actor or a great actor. If you didn't have any tricks up your sleeves, and he had been popular for a while, there were many people who didn't like Fu Fan. Although the impact is great, you can't expect me to secretly be with Yaling without announcing it, right? What is this? Something that can't be exposed? Chapter 34:10. That may be the case, but... Chun Hung sighed. Xiao Fan, I'm guessing that you'll lose more than just this role. You'll lose something else too. Now, they're testing you step by step. Once they find out that you have nothing to do with Boss Tang, your life in this industry won't be easy. No matter how bad it is, how bad can it be? I'll still use my people. Xiao Fan, you're too arrogant sometimes. This industry isn't that simple. With your personality, if it weren't for Boss Tang protecting you and helping you settle all kinds of things, who knows how much trouble you'd have gotten into. Chun Hung said, Boss Tang likes you so much. Now that you're suddenly in love and announcing your relationship, to be honest, Xiao Fan, do you think I'm being a little unkind? Boss Tang is different from others. He had seen too many in this industry. Everything in the world had ups and downs. He had seen all kinds of things and people. It wasn't rare for male celebrities in the industry to be kept by others. But it was really hard to find someone like Boss Tang. She was young, beautiful, and capable. What was rare was that she was sincere. If he wasn't sincere, would he be paving the way for Fu Fan? He just didn't understand what Fu Fan was dissatisfied with. Could it be that no matter how good she was, they just couldn't be compatible? Fu Fan and Lan Yaling's relationship wasn't just a matter of a day or two. Although there was a little ambiguity between the two of them, it wasn't too much. He had tried to persuade Fu Fan twice before, but Fu Fan wouldn't listen to him on these issues. He had no choice. He didn't expect Fu Fan to announce his relationship with Lan Yaling at this time. They were in love in public. It wasn't a big deal for actors to announce their relationship. Fu Fan was indeed not a popular celebrity. Even though he had a lot of fans, when he announced his relationship, he dealt with the public appropriately. Even if the fans couldn't accept it immediately, they would slowly forget about it in 2 days. The main reason was that Fu Fan's fans were the more rational type. They listened to him and didn't make a fuss. After that, Fu Fan moved out of the villa that Boss Tang gave him and moved into his own house. At this point, buying a house was still a piece of cake. That was not what he was asking. Fu Fan had already guessed what would happen next. Losing an important role was only the beginning. Chun Hung told Fu Fan everything that had happened. Brother Chen, don't worry. If you lose it, you lose it. Can't you just get it back? With my qualifications, wouldn't it be easy for me to get a role? Chun Hung sighed again. It's easy for you to take on roles, but if you want to take on a big production and get a good script, it won't be easy. The competition in the industry is very fierce. It's not like you don't know. Now, many people have heard that you broke up with Boss Tang and even got a girlfriend. How can they let you have an easy time? Brother Chun, go to sleep. We'll talk about this tomorrow. I'll handle it. Chun Hung realized that Fu Fan didn't want to talk about this, so he only said, Anyway, you should prepare yourself. Be prepared to be suppressed and ostracized by some people in the industry for the next 6 months or even a year. The next morning, when Huai woke up early, after washing up, he went downstairs and realized that Tanghua was already at the breakfast table. She was looking down at some documents. The breakfast on the table had not been touched yet. It was still steaming. It must have just been prepared. Good morning, Mississippi, like wearing clothes fast. Female supporting character. Calm down, please bookmark fast. Female supporting character. Calm down. Chapter 34:11. Good morning. Let's have breakfast. We'll leave together after breakfast. Okay. When Huai nodded hurriedly, he happily sat opposite Tanghua and ate with relish. Actually, some things were not that difficult to accept. Miss, do you have a boyfriend? Wen Huai could not help but ask some strange questions as he ate. He had to clarify this. He did not want to be a third party at all. No. Wen Huai's eyes were full of smiles when he heard this. That's good. If you have a boyfriend, it's not appropriate for me to stay here. Although Big Sister helped me and seems to have taken a fancy to me, I won't do things without principles. Tang Gua looked up. What are you thinking about? Nothing. I'm just thinking about our relationship. Now that I'm living in your house, you wanted to take me home after we spoke a few words yesterday. Don't tell me you don't like me? Wen Huai said confidently. It doesn't matter if you don't admit it. I'm used to it. After all, I've always been popular. There's a long line of people who want to take me home. You give me a place to stay, give me food to eat, and send me to work. Wen Huai's face was serious. Although it's a little fast, it's not unacceptable. I think you're not bad. We can slowly get to know each other. Other things don't have to happen so quickly. Actually, if things develop quickly, I won't lose out. I'm just afraid that you will lose out and regret it because of a moment of impulse. System. Dear host, you said this kid is smart, but he's a little silly when he speaks. You said he's silly, but sometimes he's very smart. He's a clown. The next few days won't be boring. Tang Gua ate her breakfast slowly. After all, she was now a CEO. She had to be steady in everything she did. Otherwise, she would break her persona. System. Dear host, you break your persona every time. At first, you thought you were steady and tried to persevere. Forget it, I won't expose you. After breakfast, Wen Huai followed Tang Gua into the car. Are you still playing extras? Tang Gua asked. Wen Huai nodded. For someone like me who didn't graduate from a film and television school, has no connections, no money, and no power, the biggest requirement for a newcomer with nothing is probably my face. I can only start from a minor role. What do you think of your acting skills? Actually, Wen Huai's acting skills were not bad because he was very good-looking. When the director gave him a minor role, he might have a few lines or even a decent amount of screen time. Just last night, Tang Gua had already asked the system to transfer all the extras that Wen Huai had played before. To be honest, this kid was really outstanding among the extras. It was just that he didn't have many opportunities. However, based on his current situation, it was only a matter of time before he caught the eye of the director. Although he couldn't play the main lead or important supporting roles, it shouldn't be a problem for him to play an ordinary supporting role. I think I can. Wen Huai revealed a row of white teeth. When it came to acting, even though he had suffered a lot because of it, he was still very excited. The directors that I've worked with before are all very satisfied with me. I feel like I'll be able to take on some important roles soon. Tang Gua suddenly leaned over and whispered, Do you want to reach the top in one step? Her tone made Wen Huai's expression a little sluggish. When he came back to his senses, he hurriedly said, It's better to have one's feet firmly planted on the ground. If you don't reach the top in one step, it's easy to step on empty air and fall to pieces. You're right. Tang Gua sat up straight and said, I saw all the extras you played yesterday. Your acting skills are really good. With your qualifications, continuing to play extras is a waste of time. It's time to take on some targeted roles. Actually, I want to, but I think it'll be soon. Many directors like me, so maybe I'll get one soon. Logically speaking, you should get one. Do you know why you haven't? System, you're teasing me again. Wen Huai's expression changed slightly. I know. Since you're already living at my place, eating my food, wearing my clothes, and using my things, it's not a big deal for me to help you get a small role. What you said seems to make sense. System. Fuck. Where's your integrity? Transmigration. Female supporting lead. Calm down. No mistakes will continue to be updated on the handmade bar. There are no advertisements on the website. Please bookmark and recommend the handmade bar. Like transmigration. Female supporting lead. Calm down. Please bookmark. Transmigration. Female supporting lead. Calm down. Chapter 34:12. How about I find you an agent? You were an extra before, so you probably don't have an assistant. I'll arrange an agent and an assistant for you. Tang Gua said 2 sentences in a row. Although when Huai felt that something was a little strange, he felt that this arrangement was quite good. The young lady said that he already ate her food, drank her wine, wore her clothes, used her things, and covered her face. She didn't mind arranging an assistant and agent for him. At this moment, when Huai had completely forgotten that he was a young master. He even secretly thought that if his family had introduced him to such a young lady earlier, perhaps he would have accepted her. Is this not a good thing? When Huai asked tentatively, although it didn't seem to be difficult for him to accept. However, the young lady had really put in a lot of effort to get him. More importantly, he didn't feel disgusted at all. He vaguely felt that this was especially good. If it were someone else, he might have run away long ago. To me, this is just a matter of a sentence. I just feel that this is a little too direct. When Huai continued to ask, he had a feeling that if he accepted all of this, he wouldn't be able to run away. The problem now was that he didn't want to run away at all. He had a feeling that he was safely trapped. I'm a direct person. Since I plan to bring you home and let you stay, of course I have to make good arrangements for you. Of course, if you don't want to, I won't force you. When Huai was overjoyed, he was still reasonable. Such a beautiful young lady was actually single. Could it be that she was so powerful that no one dared to pursue her? In that case, he had picked up a big bargain. I'll listen to you. When Huai had a smile in his eyes and pretended to answer seriously, he looked very obedient. Tang Guan nodded lightly. I'll ask Secretary Mei to arrange an agent for you. Assistant Li, do you think it's suitable? If it's not suitable, you can choose someone else. Oh right, you can only choose a man. Women can't. When Huai grinned, I also think that a male assistant is good. A female assistant has thin arms and legs. She can't help much. Assistant Li, is he the tall person from yesterday? Yes, that's him. His name is Li Hufei. Usually, he helps me deal with some trivial matters. I have Secretary Mei by my side, so I usually don't need Assistant Li. I'll arrange him for you. Assistant Li's skills are good. Not only can he help you deal with some trivial matters, but he can also protect you. That's good. Assistant Li it is. When Huai was very satisfied with Li Hufei, then, he asked, is it really okay to arrange for him to be with me? No. Oh, that's good. When you're done with your work, don't take on any more minor roles. When the time comes, your agent will arrange it for you. If you need anything, you can come back and tell me. Let's just arranged. What I said before was also serious. You can reach the heavens in a single step. If you miss a step, you will easily fall to pieces. He liked acting. He didn't come here for fame and fortune. Although his acting skills were good, he hadn't received any systematic training. In many aspects, he couldn't compare to those who graduated from professional schools. Over the past few days, he had learned all his skills from the people around him. Chapter 34:13. Host. How does it feel to be a CEO? Great. Haha, I think you're adapting well. The system asked secretly. What do you plan to do about Fu Fan? I think that this guy is really crazy. He obviously likes the original host, but he wants to leave her and find a new lover. Finally, he got up and came back to take revenge. How can there be such a person in this world? I don't understand. He's just inferior and unwilling to accept it. This is a common problem for many men. In front of a powerful woman, even if they like her, every time they receive her favor and are complimented by the people around them, their pitiful self-esteem and pride will suffer a blow. So, this is the reason why he left the original host and found a new lover? I guess he's lying to himself that he doesn't like the original host. He even suspects that the original host doesn't like him that much. As for that Lan Yeling, maybe he likes her, but it's not to the extent of love. In front of the original host, because of his pride and inferiority, he can never stand in the same position. Because in his eyes, she's always high up and can only be looked up to. Then later, he became rich and came back to find trouble? Because of Wen Huai, he thought that Wen Huai was the original host's new lover, so he was unwilling to accept it. Maybe all this made him think that he was right. The original host didn't really like him and only treated him as a plaything. He was so angry that he had to do something to hurt him. After all, his wings have hardened. This really makes me speechless, the system asked again. Then, how does the host plan to deal with Fu Fan? Let's ignore him for now. I'm not interested in him at all. As for what the people in the circle think of him and how they want to treat him, that's his own business. Isn't he stubborn and arrogant? Does he think that the original host only treated him as a plaything? Now that no one is helping him, let's see how he can survive. The system didn't ask again. He still felt that things weren't so simple. But seeing that Tangwa didn't say anything and was seriously reading the documents, he planned to go online to see what's happening in the circle. Boss Tang, are you looking for me? Mei Min and Li Hufei knocked on the door and entered the office. Tangwa stopped reading the documents and looked up. Secretary Mei, arrange a manager for Wenhui. Her eyes fell on Li Hufei. Assistant Li, I'll arrange for you to be Wenhui's assistant. You'll listen to his orders in the future. You might be busy, so double the salary. Okay, Boss Tang. Mei Min was a little confused. Was he going to arrange an agent just like that? However, Wenhui's appearance was indeed outstanding. If he had a little bit more talent, and with Boss Tang's help, it would only be a matter of time before he rose to fame. He only hoped that this Wenhui would not be like Fu Fan. Assistant Li, do you have any opinions? Tangwa asked. Li Hufei shook his head. No. Should I go and pick young master Wen up now? There's no need. He still has something to do today. We'll talk about it after he's done. Secretary Mei will inform you when the time comes. From now on, you'll be by Wenhui's side and take good care of him. Li Hufei was surprised. Was Boss Tang serious? Even if it was Fu Fan, Boss Tang wouldn't be so nervous. However, he also felt that Boss Tang should have forgotten about Fu Fan long ago. Fu Fan was an ingrate and an ungrateful guy. He didn't deserve Boss Tang at all. His Boss Tang was beautiful and kind, but Fu Fan didn't appreciate it and wasn't satisfied. Transmigration. Female supporting character. Calm Down chapters will continue to be updated on the website. There are no advertisements on the website. Please bookmark and recommend the website, like Transmigration. Female supporting character. Calm Down, please bookmark. Transmigration. Female supporting character. Calm Down. Chapter 34:14. Xiaofan. Take a look at these. Early in the morning, Chunheng handed some documents to Fu Fan. Fu Fan had just opened it when Chunheng spoke again. I told you before that this industry isn't that simple. Although you're still young and have been in this industry for a few years, you've always had Boss Tang protecting you. You haven't suffered at all. You don't know how deep the water is. Now that you've revealed your relationship and taken the initiative to abandon Boss Tang, you don't know how many people are laughing at you behind your back. I don't like her, and she hasn't shown that she likes me. Besides, she doesn't know how many people like me she has around her. Brother Chen, I'm afraid you don't know that she already has a new person around her. Therefore, I am a dispensable person. Now that I have someone I like, I have to give Yaling an explanation. I can't be as ambiguous as before. Chen Heng was a little angry and laughed. Xiaofan, if Boss Tang doesn't like you, what else can be considered as liking you? But I don't like her. We can't always be like this, right? I'm very grateful for her help. If anything happens to her in the future, I'm willing to help. Now that I have someone I like, do I still have to maintain the previous relationship? Chun Heng sighed. At least maintain the relationship on the surface. It's better that you don't break up with her. Don't be fooled by the fact that nothing is happening right now. That's because many people are secretly observing you. Yesterday, when you lost the male lead role, they were probing you. Once Boss Tang doesn't respond to this, they'll take the next step. If Boss Tang never asks about these things, they won't be afraid of you anymore. All the resources you have now will be slowly consumed by others. Did you see the documents I gave you? These are all your endorsements in the past few years. They were all obtained for you by Boss Tang's resources. Fu Fan took a look. These were all signed contracts, so he didn't see anything wrong with them. I know these are my endorsements, but is there a problem? Look at the dates. Most of them are due this year. If you still had the relationship with Boss Tang, many of them would still be able to renew their contracts with you. But now that you don't have Boss Tang to help you move around, most of them will leave. Perhaps only some merchants who are more unique and fancy you as a person will choose to continue working with you. At this point, Chan Hung paused for a moment, took a deep breath and said, "But, little fan, in this circle, profit is the most important thing, especially those businessmen. They are all businessmen. There were very few people with personalities. Once your popularity dropped and your resources were depleted, you would have no one to back you up. Everything you had would slowly be taken away by others. This circle had its ups and downs, and the new generation was very fast. You should have been standing at the peak by now. From now on, you don't need to do anything more. You just need to produce a reputable work every year to stabilize your position. As for now, it's not that easy. There were too many people in this circle, and there were too many outstanding people to count. What many people lack is an opportunity. Like your previous condition with President Tang supporting you, that is the dream of countless people. Little fan, there aren't many people who like you as wholeheartedly and purely as Boss Tang. Chapter 34:15. To be honest, Chun Hung was very regretful about this. If Fu Fan didn't already have someone he liked and announced their relationship, he would have thought that it was all fake. Brother Chun, you can't force a relationship. If you don't like her, you don't like her. Also, I've said it before. For someone like her, showing her love for me is just a nod. It's not as good as you think. Besides, it's already happened. She has a new person by her side. It's useless to say anything. Chun Hung frowned. Actually, I'm very curious. You haven't known Yaling as long as Boss Tang, right? Boss Tang is young, beautiful, and powerful. Have you really never liked her at all? You have to know that she has supported you for all these years and has no other people by her side. Boss Tang is a clear stream in the business circle. Also, I've heard some rumors about Boss Tang. I heard that she was single since she was born. She has been multi-talented since she was a child. She is a very hard-working person. She was sent abroad to study at the age of 15, but because of an accident, she lost all her family members. She had to come back to manage the company at the age of 17. So far, other than you, no other man has appeared by her side. Fu Fan looked up in surprise. Is that so? You've been by her side for so many years. Don't you know? Fu Fan shook his head. She didn't say anything. Our relationship is not equal at all. To put it bluntly, I'm just a plaything she supports. Why would she tell me this? Little Fan, you're wrong. Boss Tang likes you. Okay, Brother Chin. I know you're very sorry about this, but what's done is done. No matter how much you say, it's useless. In the future, don't mention Boss Tang anymore. Fu Fan said, even if I've lost all my resources, I'm still considered a relatively good actor in this circle. Those who have the ability to use me will still use me. Chun Hung was not optimistic. Have you heard of the second male lead suppressing the first male lead and the first male lead's scenes being cut? Also, your reputation is not bad, and those who need to use you will indeed use you, but they will only use your popularity to help other people rise. Just watch, you'll know soon enough. Chun Hung had no choice but to blame Fu Fan for being too popular. Fu Fan had received too many resources over the years, causing many people to be envious of him. Unknowingly, he had blocked the path of many people. Although when Huai was a walk-on, he was different from other walk-ons because of his own conditions. At the very least, he was booked by a director he was familiar with. In the morning and afternoon, there were probably 3 to 5 minor roles to play. After finishing his last cameo role, when Huai said goodbye to the director and prepared to leave, because Tangguo wanted to make arrangements for him, he politely turned down all the directors who said that if there were any suitable small roles for him in the future. Actually, Tangguo was right. Based on his current situation, playing a minor role was indeed a waste of time. However, the industry was like that. All they lacked was an opportunity. The more important roles had all been reserved in advance. Even if there was no reservation, it might not be his. It wasn't like he hadn't met anyone in this circle who was interested in him, regardless of whether they were men or women. However, he really wasn't here to chase after fame and fortune. Wen Huai, not bad. Your performance today was very good. Just as Wen Huai was about to leave, the director of the film crew called out to him. Chapter 34:16. Wen Huai, I have a good role here, but I haven't been able to find a suitable person. The main reason was that this role was added later. It wasn't added for Wen Huai, but because he suddenly had an inspiration. He felt that adding such a role would make this part more memorable. I think you're not bad. Are you interested in coming over? The reason why he looked for Wen Huai was mainly because Wen Huai accepted all kinds of roles. As long as there was a chance for him to appear, he basically wouldn't reject it. He was like an acting addict. Why couldn't he find a suitable person? That was because actors with a little bit of fame and image were not willing to act in such a scene. After all, there weren't many scenes, there was a lot to do, and it was a bit of a subversive image. However, he needed such a role. As for the extras outside, he didn't think much of them. Out of curiosity, Wen Huai asked who the role was. After listening to the story, he dismissed that idea. Even if he didn't meet Tanghua, he wouldn't accept this kind of role, let alone those actors with a little bit of fame. Director Huang, I have other things to do recently. I can't accept this. Wen Huai directly rejected. Director Huang was not soft-hearted at all when he used extras. For many scenes, he would try his best to make them as realistic as possible. Even if the pay was high, some realistic scenes would be very unfriendly to extras. For example, he couldn't accept the scene Director Huang mentioned. After all, filming this kind of humiliating scene, even if he paid special attention, there would still be a lot of physical contact. He wasn't willing to do that. If the person who humiliated him was the beautiful young lady at home, he might have reluctantly agreed. Pooh! Wen Huai hurriedly spat in his heart. There was really something wrong with him yesterday and today. He was clearly a very principled person. How could he suddenly accept such a shameless thing? Wen Huai! Director Huang, is there anything else? Director Huang said with a smile. Actually, the scene is about 10 minutes long. As long as you act well, it might not be cut out. This is an opportunity for you. He felt that Wen Huai's image was really fitting. If Wen Huai was bullied by the villains in the plot and acted very pitifully, it would definitely make the audience hate the villains to the core. It would be very easy to be immersed in the role. After all, Wen Huai was too good-looking. The more good-looking and beautiful a person was, the easier it was for him to attract sympathy when he got hurt. Wen Huai was creeped out by Director Huang's stare. He quickly shook his head and said, "Thank you for your kindness, Director Huang, but I really have something to do. I can't accept this." I see. Director Huang's expression didn't look too good. Actually, I really think highly of you. If it was someone else, I wouldn't have taken a liking to you either. That's very regrettable. After rejecting Director Huang, Wen Huai hurriedly left. A scene where he was humiliated by the villains? Forget it, he wasn't interested in it at all. Based on his understanding of this Director Huang, he would definitely arrange some perverted actions and scenes. He really didn't know which unlucky person would take over at that time. After finishing his work, Wen Huai left the set. Just as he was about to wait for the bus, he received a call from Li Hufei. "Boss Tang thinks that you're almost done with your work, so he asked me to pick you up." "Young Master One, are you done with your work?" Li Hufei asked. Wen Huai's eyes swept around. When he didn't see anyone familiar, he said, "Yes, I'm done." "Young Master One, where do you want to get on the bus? I'll ask the driver to drive the car there." After confirming the location, Wen Huai went over. About an hour later, Wen Huai returned to Tang Guo's villa. "Boss Tang has a social engagement tonight, so he'll be back a little late. Young Master One, you can have dinner first," Li Hufei said. "Also, Boss Tang said that I'll be following Young Master One from now on. If Young Master One needs anything, just tell me." "Who's the social engagement with?" "I have an appointment with someone for a facial," Li Hufei said. Li Hufei said. He didn't know why Boss Tang said that no matter what Wen Huai asked, she could tell him. However, since Boss Tang said so, he had to do it. When Huai asked again, "Is it a woman?" Chapter 34:17. Li Hufei's eyelids twitched. This kid really knew how to ask questions. He hit the nail on the head. "Of course it's a woman," Li Hufei replied. No man would ask Boss Tang to go to a beauty salon. They would only ask Boss Tang to ride a horse or play golf. When Huai asked subconsciously, "So, do people often ask her to ride a horse or play golf?" Of course, these are necessary social activities. Li Hufei warned with his eyes. "Young Master One, although you've moved in, you'd better not ask too many questions." "I'm just asking. Actually, I also know how to ride a horse and play golf. You can take me with you when you go in the future." When Huai said shamelessly, "By the way, has she had dinner?" This question stunned Li Hufei for a moment. Then he took out his phone and said, "I'll call Secretary Mei and ask. Boss Tang is usually very busy and rarely has free time. When she's busy, it's easy for her to forget to eat. As for those dinners, she basically doesn't eat much." Soon, Mei Min's call was connected and Li Hufei communicated with the other party. "If she hasn't eaten, get someone to make some porridge and keep it warm for her to eat when she comes back." When Huai said to himself, "Even if she's busy, she still needs to remember to eat. If she doesn't eat on time, it's not good for her body and it's easy to cause all kinds of diseases." Li Hufei quickly hung up the phone. When Huai quickly asked, "How is it? Has she eaten?" "No, Boss Tang is very busy today. She only ate a little at lunch. She's been busy until now and hasn't had time to eat." When Huai was a little anxious when he heard this. "She hasn't eaten for half a day. Can her body hold up?" "It's mainly because today's schedule is quite busy and she didn't have time. Secretary Mei should have prepared some food for Boss Tang. Just now, I heard Secretary Mei say that Boss Tang can eat whatever she wants in the afternoon. How can those small snacks compare to a warm meal?" When Huai disagreed, he glanced at the sumptuous food in front of him. It's not suitable for her to prepare this kind of food. Moreover, it's late at night. Girls probably don't want to eat too much. It's best to prepare some nutritious porridge. Porridge is good for the stomach and won't make you fat. Seeing that when Huai cared about Tang so much, Li Hufei had a better impression of him. "Why don't I call the maid over to prepare the porridge?" Although Tang lived in a villa, she didn't let the helpers live here. The staff who worked in the villa all lived about 5 minutes away from here. Under normal circumstances, he would only come during the day or when he had something to do. When Huai wanted to agree at first, but on second thought, cooking some porridge was not a very troublesome thing, so he gave up the idea. "There's no need. I know how to cook. I'll cook after dinner. When little big sister comes back, you can eat it." When Li Hufei heard this, he was stunned again. Looking at when Huai in front of him, a very strange word popped up in his mind. "Little cook." Li Hufei couldn't bear to look at this word. When Huai didn't seem to notice, he ate with relish and ate whatever was on the table. He ate very happily and wasn't picky at all. "Young Master One, I heard that actors are more restrained when it comes to eating." When Huai raised his head, "That's a big star. I'm just an extra. I have to do so many things every day. If I don't eat more, I won't have any strength. I'll be skinny a long time ago." You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.